you want to talk to as well. Let's...
I don't, for technical reasons, I don't, but I would like to talk to you a bit about what's happening downtown, just a mile away from me. I've got a good report to give you from what's happening just a mile away at the centre of the bombing.
Let's take Ronnie from Dundee first, then we'll go to a break and then we'll talk about that. Ronnie in Dundee, you're through to George Galloway.
Hi, George. Just phoning up regarding the situation. You're in there just now. You're in Beirut. Admire you to a certain extent for that. However, firstly, you claim to be a different radio station altogether when you're on there, George. You claim to be taking the people that disagree with you first. I respect the fact that I'm now getting my say, but it didn't last week. I waited 75 minutes to get 20 seconds and it was cut off.
Can I make a point, Ronnie, before George talks to you? We've got loads of calls to get through, Ronnie, and if you go on moaning like this, you'll probably get cut off before you get to your point.
Yeah, just carry on because you always protect...
No, Ronnie, just say your point to George. We've got a lot of calls to come in, OK?
Shall I just go on with it then?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, well, thanks very much. OK, George, at the start of your, rant, frankly, you claimed that in this country now, more than half the people support Lebanon and their views and Hezbollah, frankly. I mean, where do you get that? When did you actually do this survey? I mean, you're talking about 1 million people going in Manchester. Tell me when that represents over 30 million, and we could maybe believe what you're saying. You know it doesn't work that way, George. This country elects a government on a minority, and I'm afraid sometimes that is the final say, George. I support Blair and Bush in this, frankly. So I just want to hear what you've got to say.
Okay, well, it's an odd complaint from somebody that they got through and onto the air on national radio 2 weeks in a row. But I'm always glad to hear from a misanthrope from Dundee, and Ronnie, believe me, is as misanthropic as a Dundonian can ever be. You can seldom confuse a ray of sunshine and a misanthrope from Dundee, and I know that because, well, it's my hometown. The reality is that the opinion polling was not done by me, but done by the reputable opinion poll companies and reported in the national press, and a simple Google will show you that 61% of the British people believe that Mr. Blair's policy in the Middle East has made Britain a more dangerous place, and nearly 70% of British people consider that the Palestinian issue is at the heart of the conflict which now afflicts so much of international affairs today. And, frankly, any scanning of the correspondence columns of any newspaper of worth, any listening to any phone-in programs on any radio station, including ours, will make it clear that other than, and I'm not saying Ronnie's one of those, I think he would phone up to grump whatever I was saying, but other than those highly mobilized to support Israel, Israel now has very, very few supporters left in Britain.
OK, I don't think Ronnie can complain any more about not getting his point across. Do you, George?
No. It's extraordinary, as I say. He got in 2 weeks in a row.
Right, George, we'll be back with you in a couple of moments. Don't forget you can join us on the air on 08704 20 20 20. You can text us at 81089 or go to the website and send an email at talksport.net. You're listening to the mother of all talk shows with George Galloway. I'm James Whale.
On Talk Sport.
OK, broadcasting nationally on TalkSport 1089, 1053 and on FM across Edinburgh, Fife and the Lothians on Talk 107. Welcome back, George.
Yes, James.
I believe now you've got a guess now, have you, George?
Yes, I do. He's a man with a very, very special knowledge of the subject at the very heart of the matter, which is the Palestine conflict. He's a wing commander. He's no Hezbollah man. He's not a member of the anti-war movement, but he is a very considerable expert, and I think you've got him on there.
It's Wing Commander John Bullock who is here, and Wing Commander, a very good evening to you. I'm James Whale, but George Galloway is at the moment in Beirut, and he'll be talking to you there.
Wing Commander, please tell the audience your specialist knowledge on this subject, please.
Well, he's there, but he's not hearing us for some reason, George. I'm sorry about that. We're going to try and get him back again. You wanted to tell me just a little bit about something that was happening south of where you are at the moment, didn't you?
Yes, it's a very significant point, I think. You know, when I was there yesterday and this morning, I saw all the shops, of course, in the area have been blasted, and the fronts of the shops completely demolished. But in 4 shops, it was possible to go into the shop and steal anything that you wanted. And not a single bar of chocolate or packet of crisps has been looted. Mm-hmm. Not a single belonging to any of the residents there has been taken by anyone. And I asked the local people there how this had been achieved. Was there vigilante patrols and so on? And they were astonished at this suggestion, because, of course, they regarded it would have been the height of immorality for anyone to make use of the destruction that had been caused to help themselves to other people's property. And I couldn't help comparing it, James, with the situation in New Orleans after the natural disaster hit that city, which ended up with the American law enforcement agencies machine gunning people in the streets because they were looting the shops and looting other people's properties, and where the richest and most powerful country in the world couldn't organize the picking up of dead bodies on the streets, which were now floating, of course, of one of their major cities. The local people in Dahia have moved heaven and earth to try and get the bodies out of the rubble. There's no looting. There's absolute social peace, complete and utter social peace, with no social dislocation at all.
Where are the people... Sorry, George, I was going to say, where are the people who have no homes living? I mean, are they in refugee camps? Are they looking after each other? Where are all these people who've been displaced? We hear over 1 million people in the Lebanon have been displaced. Where are they living?
Well, one of the greatest of ironies, James, when I first came here in 1977, it was to go and live in the Palestinian refugee camps, which the Lebanese people had since 1948 had to endure the presence of hundreds of thousands of Palestinian refugees living in squalor in camps in their country. Now, the Lebanese are living as guests of the Palestinian refugees, as refugees in their own country. So you've got, for example, a big camp called Ain al-Helwe, where the bakeries are now working 24 hours a day flat out to produce bread, which they're giving to the host country, Lebanon. And Lebanese refugees are now living off the Palestinian refugees who've been refugees in Lebanon for 50 years. It's an absolutely extraordinary thing. And, of course, a very large number of the people from the south have moved back to their villages, and many of them are living out in the open. They're living out under canvas, living out under corrugated tin, living in the rubble of their houses. I expect to see them tomorrow. I've seen pictures of them sitting, having their coffee in the rubble of their own houses, but they were not prepared to be driven away from their land for any longer than was strictly necessary.
Okay, we've got Wing Commander John Bullock on the line now. Let's see if we can get him this time, George. Wing Commander.
Wing Commander, this is ground control. Are you there?
I'm here.
Excellent, Wing Commander. I wonder if you would tell the audience just what your specialist expertise in this matter is.
Well, only that for some years I was in the Royal Air Force from 1944 onwards. I served in Palestine when the troubles erupted.
Now, this is interesting, Wing Commander, because we hear a lot, and we will hear a lot of talk this evening, I'm sure, about the word terrorism. Would it be fair to say that you and the other British forces serving there were on the receiving end of what nowadays we'd call terrorism?
But of course, in particular, 2 gangs called the Irgun Zawai Liumi and the Stern Gang, and there were others. They spent their time gunning us, hanging us in orchards, and getting rid of us in various ways, men, women, and children.
It was just a month ago, Wing Commander, that it was the 60th anniversary